Welcome to Miss B's Trucking Institute, where we find solutions, not excuses. We keeping this thing in the road, y'all. I'm Mr. B. I'm rolling this big rig. I got my modified gear shift up there, boy. You know what I'm saying? I got my co-driver, DC Wolf, in the house. What's going on, DC?
Hey, man, I'm glad to be in the house, man.
Yes,
a blessing.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Blessing. Let's get this thing on the road, man. Let's get it on the road.
On the road, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We pulling out the truck stop right now. You know what I'm saying? We dropping that thing and 4-5. We just split it. We throwing that thing over in 5. We up to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yes,
we about to get on the big road, boss.
85 southbound getting down.
Yes, sir. We yielding right now. We about to get on this 85. We gonna holler at our dispatcher, Foodie Fancy, to see who we got in the bunk with us today. Let me see where she at. Let me call up right quick. All right. Foodie Fancy. Our dispatcher. What you got for us today, Foodie?
What's going on, gentlemen?
What's up?
What's up?
All right. What's happening, people out there? Listen, I am Foodie Fancy. Glad you guys are joining us today. Before I introduce who we have in our sleeping berth, I want to kind of give you guys some news that I was just kind of reading up on. Okay, so on Wednesday, the Truck Parking Safety Improvement Act has just introduced in the House and Senate a bill that would authorize $755 million. This is over a 4-year plan, and this is to improve the safety of parking for truckers.
We need it, man. We need it.
So this is either going to improve, will build new facilities, or what it's going to do is just kind of convert some of the existing wait stations that they have.
Man, they need it bad, because you see truckers, especially off the exit. I'm up here, man. It's just like they down the X's, parking on X's, man. That's definitely dangerous.
You know? It is. And that's part of the reason why that's the push. That's the push, is because it is an endangerment, not only to just truck drivers, but it's also to people just out driving, period. So they're trying to kind of work on this. But dude, did y'all hear that number? How much money they're actually about to put behind this? $755 million.
Yeah,
they need it, man.
And to be honest with you, man, when you talking nationwide, those numbers really, they probably need about $1 billion. You see what I'm saying? Because you talk about nationwide, all states, and these drivers, man, they're in unsafe locations. It's not their fault. They gotta stop.
Yes.
And ain't nowhere to park. You gotta go side the road. You know what I'm saying?
Especially with the regulations, it's like when your time clock run out, man, you gotta park. So if you don't have a safe place to park, bro, you just gonna dip on the side of the road. Been there, done that.
Oh yeah.
We all have.
Yeah, they had this one community that actually kind of pulled together and said they do not want anything near them, for truck drivers to park. So it's just like, to the community, it's the concern of tearing up the roads and, all the stuff that, trucking stops, the elements that it brings. They just don't want it in their community.
What elements, Foodie? What elements we bring?
We don't want to talk about the lizards. Now, come on.
We know about the elements, but I'm gonna tell you this.
Talk about the truck lizards now.
But this,
them elements.
This the pushback I give on that too, man. Is that at the end of the day, maybe they need to beef up security.
Sure.
But the community need to understand everything they have. When they put clothes on their back, when they brush their teeth, when they, the shampoo you put in your hair, the very house you live in, everything comes into this nation through plane, through train, and guess what happens next? Them trucks bring it to the store.
Yes, sir.
When you go to the grocery store, guess how them groceries getting there?
Trucking.
You go to your favorite restaurant, guess how that food getting there?
Mr. B.
Out on your back.
Come on now. So give us some respect. Put some respect on these trucks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I felt that deep.
Let's bring this thing on back down.
Okay.
All right. Who we got in the sleeper berth?
Man, listen, I was on a trip, with our daughter, with my oldest, youngest, Zion. Y'all excuse me, man. It's been a long day. I'm tired. But anyway, so Zion.
Dispatcher, you need to tighten up, dispatcher. Get this load to us. No excuses. We find solutions, not excuses. We need to get another dispatcher, Clint.
Hey,
we
didn't
can't
want to get
rid
up
of
on a
40
date
fans,
because
man.
this dispatcher about to tell you some things on a Sunday. Please be quiet. Please be quiet.
But you was right though. Zion the oldest. You right. You was right. You was right. You was right.
But anyway, so Zion, they had like an LGPE, event, and that's for for their band or whatever. And so their bus driver, when I tell you, the coolest, on point, you do not want to mess around. I was like in the back, I felt safe. I was like, look, I ain't never seen nobody whip it like that before. Get need to be. So our next person that we have up that you all will hear from is none other than D T Slaton. She is with us today, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about bus driving. So without further ado, we're going to bring her in. How you doing, DT?
I'm so good. I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me, Mr. B, DC Wolf, Foodie Fancy. Yes. It's amazing to be in the house, and thanks for starting off with prayer. That's an amazing start.
Okay.
Yes. Anything that we want good, right? So I was really, really humbled by that, and definitely love it. Love every bit of it.
Well, I am excited. We are so excited to have you, and I cannot wait to hear all that is about to take place today on this show. So I just want to tell everybody, buckle up, let's get it done, and keep it in the road.
Keep it in the road, Foodie Fancy. You go get some rest. Because we need our dispatcher just vibrant.
Fresh. I'm vibrant, baby. I stay vibrant.
Y'all.
All right. DT Slaton, how you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. How are you, Mr. B?
I am blessed and highly favored.
Yes.
And I'm so excited about this interview in all seriousness because actually I did, I want to say I have about 5 years in school bus driving. So this is a profession that I think is underappreciated in our nation and needs to be appreciated. And I know that we have had some pay increases, etc. So even before we get started, I just want to just thank you for the job that you do every day. I did that job 3 years in one county, 2 years in another county here in Georgia. And it is a very grueling profession, but it is one that is needed. So thank you for your service to our community and to our children. We appreciate you.
Well, I thank you guys. I definitely love my kids. Each morning when I get on my bus, I send up a prayer. Let us have a safe trip there and a safe trip back. And I'm still old school. So making sure that not only do they get a safe ride to school, but that they get some good seeds planted inside of them so that they grow up to be strong, good-natured, productive citizens. So I definitely appreciate that.
So you about to get deep into my energy. Don't get deep into it. Y'all want you to get too far because you about to start saying some stuff. I'm gonna ask you about it a little later.
Yeah.
But that's great. That's beautiful. So the first question I have for you, DT, and that's DT. That's we calling you on show.
Yeah, you just D is fine.
Okay, D. All right. So what's the story behind you becoming a school bus driver?
Well, I started off. I kind of stumbled into it. I wanted to go to school and get a degree. And so I was working another job, driving in transportation. And myself and one of the gentlemen that I worked for, an older guy, he said, listen, this is not really for you. You would be, what do you really want to do? I said, well, I love driving, but I would love to have the opportunity to go back and go to school. And he said, why don't you go become a school bus driver? I said, no, Mr. Gilstrap, I don't know about that. I don't think I want to be bothered with anybody's bad kids. And he said, well, just pray about it. Put it in God's hands. He says, a good profession, you're driving. And if you want to continue, I want it to grow in the field. And so he says, you'll be able to have the kind of schedule you want. And so I did what he said. I prayed. And I said, Lord, if you mean for me to do this, and this is the way you want me to go, then please put me in a good district. And so a friend of my daughter's, her mom was working in a great system, and she says, hey, they're hiring for school bus drivers. The kids are pretty great. Just give it a try. And so I did. And I'll be honest, I ended up loving it a whole lot more than I thought I would.
Really?
Yes.
Really? Wow. Now you say you get on the bus and you pray and you love your kids. Now, okay, I know you and Mr. B, y'all speaking a different language. I've never been a bus driver. So my question is, do I have to like kids to be a bus driver? Do I have, can I just not like kids?
No, you gotta like kids.
Answer this, D.
What?
Yeah, you saw.
How D gonna answer this one?
Yeah, you can do the job and not like kids, but you're not gonna do it well. You're gonna run into some huge problems, and you're not gonna last long. You gotta really do more than like them. You gotta love them. Listen.
I gotta love them.
Yeah, because most of my kids, I tell anybody jokingly, they first name bad and they last name bad, and they get in trouble every day. I have some that have been getting in trouble ever since the 2nd and 3rd grade. They're now in middle school. And it's a lot of patience and a lot of love. So yes, you can do it without liking kids. I don't think you'll last long, but you can try.
Okay.
Yeah, I completely agree, D. Great answer. It's just like with you, DC Wolf. You haul that chicken and you love chicken.
Not chicken. What?
See, he love them grits.
Ignore that. Just ignore that, man. Please ignore that. Please.
You don't hate that chicken you be hauling.
Okay.
Why, bro? Why chicken though, man? Why chicken? Why not pork chops? Why not pork chops, man? Why it gotta be chicken?
Well, look here. Yeah, I just want to piggyback before I go to my next question. I want to piggyback on what D said. Well, you said it so eloquently. I'm not even impressed. What you said was, you're not going to last long. You're not going to be, you're not going to really be functional. Kids not going to like you. It's just going to be drama. It's not, you can do it. Because I've known some people, just like I know you did, have known some drivers that don't like kids, and they don't last long. And that's why the turnover is kind of high, because people do this job for money. I have a friend of mine, ex-barber of mine, got it for the money. He didn't last but a month. Man, them kids wore him out. You hear me? And he didn't have the patience, So, yeah, that's great. But this is what I want to really get into, okay? How do you deal with student discipline while driving?
Okay, student discipline while driving. Well, I'll tell you out the gate. It's setting a tone. Now, when we were coming up, yardstick, sometimes 2 yardsticks, or dictionaries in the corner. You remember that? And don't make you stand on one leg. Stand on one leg.
Yep.
But that is out. And so you have to get creative. But I think the most important thing is this: if you love first, you can always discipline.
Okay.
Most kids want to be disciplined, and discipline doesn't always have to take the form of something corporal. And you don't have to yell. I've learned that. You can generally, out the gate, if you set the tone, you need to establish who's the adult and who's the child. I work in a district that is mixed. It's very diverse. All of my kids are the same. My black and white kids both speak Ebonics. Okay. So in other words, when I get ready to talk, we're doing a lot of different communication techniques to get the job done. But at the end of the day, it's about setting the tone and defining the roles. And if you love first, you can always discipline. If you're not talking to your kids, interacting with your kids, you don't know their names, they're just on your bus. It's just going to be very difficult when something comes up in terms of trying to discipline them. It's just not going to go over well because kids, they know who cares and they know who gravitates toward them. And so when you take time to invest in them and get to know them on a personal level, they don't mind the discipline part. That actually can come very easy.
And let me add this, Wolf, before we come with that next question.
Okay.
Again, we talking to a professional right here because everything she's saying is spot on. But what I want to highlight a little bit too is the first thing I used to do, D, whenever I got a new route with them kids, though, first thing I would do, it would be my mission to learn my elementary kids' names.
Absolutely.
That's the first thing I would start doing. I would go through that roster and learn their names, and then I'll go to my crazy middle schoolers. Then I'll go to high school. High school typically they be chilling, but I don't want to.
They chill.
But it's the middle schoolers next. But when a kid when you say, "Hey, you," it's not personal. But when you say, "Jimmy, sit down,"
that's it.
Then they were so that the key with me was learning all my elementary kids' names, especially the kindergartens, because they was right behind me. So
absolutely,
I learned their names first grade, second, third, and then when I get through that, so it's so much more to driving a bus than just driving a bus. A school bus.
It is, Mr. B, and it's like having a classroom behind you. You have a classroom, but it's behind you. And in driving, as you know, the first thing is always safety. Safety. No matter what your load is, it's safety.
Wow.
And so when you have a 40-foot bus, I drive in an extremely busy city. I'm in the city of Decatur. And when you have people on the ground, people in their cars, folks riding bicycles, and then you have your children, it is a real task. And so just like you said, that name, and it ties into bus management, student management, right? When you driving down the road, hey, you, when you know their names, it just helps with the management, the safety, everything meshes together when you're personal with your kids. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, so y'all talking about like ages, because when I came up, it was like all ages rode on the same bus. And as a matter of fact, I remember like the high school kids wouldn't let the little kids sit down. So like the dude made all the high school kids sit in double and let the elementary and the small kids have the rest of the bus. Man, that was terrible. But anyway, what age of children you guys work with? What
all of them. All of them.
You have all ages?
From ankle biters, which are the 3, because we have an early learning center, up to the Thundercats, them high schoolers that think they have arrived, think they grown. Now, our kids are a little bit, what we do is we combine them, but high school and middle school are not combined with the elementary kids and the little ones. But when you take a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old and you have them on the bus with 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, there's still a challenge there. Now, Mr. B hit it on the head. I'm old school. Mr. B can get behind me on this. The little ones, the small ones, they need to be right there with you.
Yep.
Right there with you. And so you seat your children according to their age, and the little ones always take precedent over everyone else in terms of sitting them close, because even though they're with 3rd and 4th and 5th grade, right, there's still some dynamics there that have to be managed. And so, but all ages, I have everybody from, I did not get as many, I don't have any little small ones this year. One time I had like 20. at one time, along with my third, fourth, and fifth. This year, I did not get any little babies, but I do have everyone else.
What's the most difficult group?
The younger ones are the most difficult in terms of getting them to sit. The attention span is real short. And so you tend to have to be repetitive. Sit down. Don't. You have to have a lot more patience. Middle school, they tend to be, they're the hardest in terms of where they are socially. And, you know, they're trying to kind of feel their way, find their swag. High school, they laid back. They think they've arrived. So
the middle schoolers was the toughest for me, boy. Good Lord.
I love middle school.
I love to tell you, like, when the middle school were just, I had my most difficult far as their behavior, and but when they get connected with you, they love you deeply.
Yes, they do.
That. So they were the hardest to discipline it, but when y'all get connected, they were my roads.
Absolutely.
My roadies right there. So this is what I wanted to ask too. I'm just curious your take on this is, have you ever considered doing special needs? I did special needs for about 6 months. And have you ever considered special needs, or because typically special needs pay a little more, or is special needs something that you kind of stay away from?
I've done special needs, but I've done special needs on mobile special needs kids. So these are kids that are basically, they're able to, you know, get up and on and off the bus on their own. But they do have some other challenges. I've never done special needs for those that are required to use the wheelchairs and different equipment. It does take a unique type of driver to do special needs because there is a different dynamic with it. Now, when I had my special needs kids, I really did enjoy that. And I'm gonna tell you, sometimes they are better than just the other kids. And so I've enjoyed doing both. I am not a special needs driver, but I do commend those that do it on a long-term basis. I have a coworker that's been a special needs bus driver for 20 years. She loves it. She's amazing at it. And she has everybody from those that are ambulatory to the ones that get, that have to have chairs. And she's even had a couple that have passed away, right? They have these unique health challenges, and sometimes the outcome is just not good. And so she's even, and to survive something like that and be able to still be really strong at it and continue to do it is really amazing. So shout out to Nona. She does an amazing job with the special needs kids.
Yeah, I before I got into special needs, there was a lot of regular ed drivers in the county that I was in that was a bit, they were had a lot of pushback, was a little hesitant because of the stigmas, like thinking that special need kids would be, dangerous, or they, and I love my special need route. I love the kids. I had a two handicap. Wheelchair, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Wheelchair. And sweetest kids. We did have a kid that we had to strap where we had to restrain them. But just great kids, a very peaceful route. And I'm gonna tell you the big thing about special needs that was really in the county I was in, I was glad all them other regular ed drivers didn't want to do it. Because let me tell you, this is what was sweet about that special needs. We had AC on our buses.
That's it. That's it. That's it. Yeah, you have to have AC with them. They love things to be consistent. They love consistency.
When we were sitting there and them the summer hit, them regular drivers over there sweating. I pull up that special needs bus. I had that
That's
AC
it.
on full blast.
And hey,
Yeah.
Mr. B,
Sure.
you don't appreciate air. Let me tell you, it's 2 jobs where you learn to appreciate getting air conditioning, and I've worked in both of them. When you drive for the post office delivering the mail, there's no air in those little trucks. You don't have anything but a fan.
That's
Mhm.
right.
The school bus without air conditioning. We came into air conditioning just a few years back, and when you get it, you are so thankful for it. It's hot on
Yeah,
those.
that's hard to believe they don't have. Y'all don't. That's hard to believe. Like at
We
this
do
day
now,
and
but we
age.
didn't.
No, and there's some counties that don't have it. And it's to me, and then what was crazy when COVID, I just come out of truck bus driving in. But think you had to have a mask on. And when I tell you,
Yes.
whatever is the degrees outside on the bus is 10 degrees
Yes, it's hot.
higher. So
It's
you
hot.
burning up on that bus with all them kids. And for several, they just had one county here in Georgia, they went all AC. But there's still some counties without AC.
Still some
You
counties
know,
without
so
AC.
but that's why I was looking at the special need route. It was sweet because
Yes.
those sweetest kids. I just didn't have any issues. It was a smaller unit. I
Mm-hmm.
could get in and out of places quicker. Had
Yes.
AC, paid more money. I was
Mm-hmm.
like,
Yes.
it just was a
Yes.
win
It's
for me.
hot.
But the stigmas and stuff like
Yeah.
that is what was keeping some drivers away. But
Yeah.
yeah, I love my special need route, man. Loved it.
Yeah, that's hard to believe.
Mhm.
Question: do you see yourself retiring from this role you're in now? How you sound, I could see you training bus drivers. When you talk about bus management, it seems like you got a lot of layers and thought to your job. You know what I'm saying? So do you plan on retiring from this, or what's the plan as far as bus goes?
So here's the plan. I am you hit the nail on the head. Training and leadership are the plan. I'm gearing up to go this summer and do certification. But the other thing, I'm glad that you asked this question because it leads into something that I believe is very important and needs to be highlighted more. School bus driving is an amazing career in terms of the children, the reward that you get for seeing them being a part of the village, right? And bringing them up to a place where they are doing well, they're an adult. But there is no real retirement in school bus driving. And that's something that doesn't really get highlighted. So you can drive a school bus in the role of a bus driver for 25 years. You may walk away with $300 or $400 a month. And a lot of people don't know that. They get in these roles. You make your money up front. And when I say up front, it comes to you, you're making it while you're doing it, right? So you're doing trips, you're getting your, those field trips in, and the money is great on the front end. But if you stay in that role for a long period of time and you begin to age and you start to get up in age, you're not really you're not putting into a retirement pool because there's no real retirement in it. And it's like that statewide. Has nothing to do with your district. The one of the differences in districts, though, I will say, is that some pay into Social Security and some do not. And so that's the other caveat, because if you're not paying into Social Security, you may be setting yourself up for some other issues down the line. Because if you've worked at, say, Lonnie's Tavern off and on for 10 years, and Lonnie's Tavern pays into Social Security, and then you're a bus driver with the school, but you're not having Social Security taken out at the school, you can easily get caught up in the windfall law, which went into place in 83, right? It's been around for a while, but it's getting a lot of buzz now. And what that simply means in a nutshell is that they're going to detract from your Social Security benefits because you have not paid. Social Security is designed to be, it's the numbers are crunched for the benefit of a low wage worker. And so when they begin to crunch the numbers, they detract from your Social Security benefit because you really have not paid it forward like someone else who's been paying Social Security on a job for the duration of their career. So that is the big vice of school bus driving. I don't discourage anybody from doing it. I've been doing it. I've been driving in transportation for about 17 years. 7 of that has been in pupil transportation. But I would definitely say go into it with your eyes wide open and understand that you need to have some other avenues in terms of retirement.
So this is a question I have too, and I've kind of thought about this as well. I had no desire to do it, but have you ever thought about like city transit, like working for a company like MARTA, or anything like that? Because you have your passages endorsement, you can do that.
Yeah, I was with MARTA for 6 years. I've worked in every facet of transportation, including I have a Class A license. And when I first started off, I started off in trucking. Okay. And the guy who trained me to drive tractor trailers, he was a great guy, older gentleman. He was like a second parent. And my daughter, I have she's 21 now, but she was little at that time. And he was like, you're not going to be able to keep this up over the road. Do you want to drive the city bus? I was like, not really. I never intended to drive people, right? That was never a part of it. I only wanted non-talking cargo. And, Mr. Burnham was like, you want to drive the school bus? The MARTA bus. I was like, no. He says, well, it would be good for you. You would get, good money doing it and you'll be home every night. And so he says, well, if I'll get you the interview, you have to get yourself a job. And I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. And I went that took me into public transit. And that's an amazing field as well. And when I left MARTA, people were like, you leave them. People think you're supposed to dial for those types of jobs, right? You get on with like MARTA or, the trains, they think you're supposed to dial for those types of jobs. And so I had, a grandfather and 4 uncles that retired from MARTA, but I had a great run. And my whole key with a job is I like to leave in a condition that I can always go back if I want to. But 2 things that I did not like, I hate uniforms. So I couldn't stay long, but I stayed 6 years and it was a good run. But I always knew, going back to something that DC Wolf said, is that I wanted to grow and I wanted to get an education to be able to kind of move higher. I didn't know exactly what facet. I knew I liked training. I knew I liked transportation. But I wanted the flexibility and the schedule to be able to kind of get those things accomplished. And at MARTA, everything moves in seniority order. Mm-hmm. So I came in, I was in the low 1500s. Put it this way, the number 1 and number 2 man were still at MARTA when I was there. And the number 2 man just had, Sarge is his nickname. He just had a bus. I don't know, a few months ago, if you saw, MARTA had a bus out. It had Sarge's picture wrapped around it. You know how MARTA does all the advertising? Yep. And they had wrapped that bus. He wears a captain's hat, and he's been at MARTA 50 years. Yeah.
Them jokers don't want to leave. They got folk that was riding carriage or riding horses.
They ain't going nowhere.
They still there.
They still there, Mr. B. And you know what else? When I was there, MARTA is a great company. There's a great culture. It has its challenges with leadership, just like every other company, But there were some things that you don't get a lunch break. There's no such thing as a lunch break. A lot of people don't know that. As a MARTA bus driver, you only get the time that you pull into the station. I've been gone since 2012, so I don't know what the union contract has in place now. The contract changes. They go back and bid every 4 or 5 years. So I don't know if it's still like that. And the other thing is, when I was there, you had to work about 15 years minimum to even think about having a weekend off. So, because once you went to markup, which is like markup is something that you do at MARTA about every 4 to 5 months. It's an opportunity to change routes and change off days, right? And so once you get there, you go according to your seniority. So once you get there, Those days, Saturday and Sunday, gone. Thursday, Friday, gone. Monday, Tuesday, gone. And so the first year I did split off days, which I didn't like that much, but I made it work. And then after about that, I got like Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but there's no such thing as getting a weekend off. Now I get weekends off, summers off. We on break next week for spring break. The schedule is amazing.
Mm.
And it's funny. I was just sitting here. It's interesting that you went to my alma mater, or actually, I know Bernie. We trained together.
Mm-hmm.
We worked together at GPTC.
Mm-hmm.
So he's retired now. Well, he was retired probably when he was training you.
Yeah, he was. He had retired from MARTA.
Yeah. So what year were you out there?
07, 06, 07.
Yeah. I came back around about 09. I came, me and DC Wolf actually, at that time it was the Cab Tech.
Yep. It was the Cab Tech.
And then I came back and I taught, I actually trained MARTA drivers.
Mm-hmm.
I trained tractor trailer. I trained straight truck, truck trailer. I did it all as far as training. Yeah, I'm pretty. I can bag anything. You know, I bag circles around DC Wolf. You know.
Oh no.
You know,
wait a minute. Wait.
DC Wolf tractor trailer. I'm everything else.
Okay, wait a minute. Now there's something about that don't sound right.
Thank you.
Wait.
Exactly. See, it don't even sound right. You know what I'm saying?
No.
This lady is a discerning lady. She has discernment. That don't even sound right, bro. Think about it.
Yeah. What else you got, Wolf? You have something else?
What I want to ask, man, is and this is pretty sensitive. So, with all of the mass shootings going on, do you have a concern for safety? And how do you guys? What is your approach for safety? And what is your concern?
That's an excellent question. I'm glad you asked. It is a sensitive topic, but it's a real topic, right? Because it's happening. This summer, I'm going to be going to the state. I'm gonna be doing a training on school shootings, and responding to a school shooting in the school, on the bus, which is an extension of the school. There's a huge concern. Growing up is not easy. And mental health is something that has taken precedent. When we were coming up, it wasn't described as mental health. It was a rite of passage. You know, somebody joined you. It wasn't equated to bullying, right? Bullying had to be some physical type stuff. Mm-hmm. When we were coming along, that was like a rite of passage. But now these kids are a lot more sensitive. It's like the old saying our grandparents said, each generation gets weaker and wiser, right? So in terms of technology and education and all of these things, they are sharp. When it comes to handling changes that are just part of life, a lot of sensitive areas for a lot of kids. You just don't know. They're toting book bags, they're toting instrument cases, and they're toting issues. And when they get on the bus, you just don't know. And I think that ties back into having a rapport with your kids. I don't think any school bus driver, if you are driving on a bus and you are not personal with your kids, you need to rethink that. I know that it's easy, and sometimes it's, there are a lot of emotions when you're toting these kids, when you're getting them from point A to point B. A lot of bus drivers feel undervalued, and they are. They're not recognized. What we do is not always, in a school system, and I think Mr. B can back me on this, it's nothing against teachers, but that's who gets the kudos. Everyone else takes a back seat. It's just like at the hospital, right? The doctor gets the kudos, but it's really the nurses that do a lot of the hard work, okay? It's nothing against teachers, but it would be nice to be recognized in that it takes a village. And we are the first face next to mom and dad, we are the first face that they see. And listen, we got kids coming from a lot of places. We got kids that have a lot. We got kids that have a little. We got kids that have no home. People don't think about their homeless kids that ride the bus. And so when they get on the bus, you don't know what they're bringing on there with them in terms of the emotional baggage. And that can turn, we know that can turn deadly very quickly if they don't have a way to talk those issues out or get assistance for those issues. And it's unfortunate, but it's a real thing. There was a school shooting, I think, last week where, you know, a kid that went there came back and shot up and killed like 6 people. So I'm going to be doing a training this summer. We actually had a meeting this past week where we began to kind of open up conversation about it and one of the things that I shared in the meeting is that I think the conversation needs to be honest conversation. And what I mean by that is it sounds good to say, yes, if something like this happens, I'm ready. I'm ready to even be a martyr. You have a family. You want to come back home to your family. You want to protect your kids, but you also want to come back home to your family. And so I think that as we move forward with training for this, you know, these types of scenarios, we have to do the kind of training that's realistic, not the kind that sounds good. The sound good kind is all the kids get off the bus and whoever's in charge will die and lay their life down on the line for them, right? People, that's not realistic. Folks want to talk about the type of training that's going to get everybody home safe. And so I think that as we go forward, it's important that we create training that is sensitive to both sides. It needs to work for management. It needs to work for the driver. It needs to work for the student. And it needs to work for the community. And so, but it is a real thing, DC. It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, that school shooting is so real. It's such a real thing. We never had to think about that when we were coming up. School door, you didn't even lock the school door. Folks just walked in. But now it's a sad thing. It's a crazy thing, but it's a realistic thing.
Well, while we're right here, let me ask a question. If I'm not mistaken, in some states, they've allowed the teachers to carry. Now, with both of you guys being bus drivers, do you think it'll ever get to the point where bus drivers can carry? Oh, they'll. No. What do you think? What y'all think?
Because of you got to think bus driving falls under, I want to say commercial driving, Clint.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because of that, the federal government has laws in place where you actually, I know some guys do it, but it's illegal to carry firearm in a commercial vehicle.
That's right. That's right. That's why you missed the beat. That's what I'm talking
about. Yeah, Mr. B has a good point. And you know what, DC, that's a good question. Someone asked that question in one of our meetings. What about these folks that have been trained to carry and no one else knows them? They're like the secret, they're like the secret weapon of the school, right? They can be a teacher, could be a counselor. But here's the caveat to that. What if they're the one with the problem?
Ooh, yeah.
So for a lot of people, from an employee perspective, when you go to implement these types of programs, you got to really, that's kind of touchy and sketchy because when we were coming up, I think one of the differences now, the teachers and parents were on the same page, right? You got in trouble at school, just go ahead and get ready because you're finna get the beat down when you get home. Yep. You're gonna be in trouble. Parents and teachers stuck together, but those were teachers, they weren't without fault, but you had a lot more of them that they knew their role and they acted that role out, and parents could trust the teachers. You always have bad seeds. Well, we weren't a perfect generation. I'm not saying that. But we were a generation where parents and teachers had the same moral compass and things were meshing together in a lot simpler way, But now who are these people? Just like you cut on the TV and hear about school shootings, you cut on the TV and hear about these grown folks doing stuff with kids that they don't have any business doing. And it sets a bad rap. It begins to make a profession that was once trusted, teachers and nurses and stuff. Those folks were once trusted people. But when you have these bad seeds that are doing things that they have no business doing with our kids, it makes things harder for everybody. And so when you start equipping folks with guns and you have these types of, scenarios, you have to start, people ask questions. Well, are you giving the gun to someone that is capable? Do they have a problem? Are they having a hard day at home? Are they going to take this weapon and come in here and use it? So sensitive stuff.
Very sensitive. But this is just, and it can get a bit political here, but I'm just speaking from my heart. I don't think the answer lies in more guns. I think the answer to our problem right now in this nation, in our community, what's interesting is when you go back, like when we didn't have these issues per se, we say we were growing up in our communities. What it was that it was relationship. It was community. People knew each other. Like, I really had neighbors down the street. I grew up, me and DC Wolf in rural Alabama, where a neighbor down the street will whoop your butt.
Yes, sir.
So when you have a strong community and you have relationships, do you even have people with that type of anger coming to do harm to others? Because it was a community. And when we get, and I'm just speaking in the context of like dealing with these issues with violence in our school, it's like we have grown, we're distant from each other. And there's not this sense of community and this connectivity. And when you begin, what happens is when something is not connected, what do you have now? It's fractured.
Yes.
A fracture is a break. A fracture is something that it hurts the entire body. And that's why we are fractured as a community, because we're no longer connected. People don't have the same respect. Like even what you were talking about back to the teachers and bus drivers. At the end of the day, my feet are just as important as my head. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
My pinky from the thumb. I need all of it.
That's it.
But we're in a society now where it's like, oh, if you're in this position, we're gonna minimize the leg or the pinky, or that's not as important as the head. No, we have to be connected, and every position is significant. And
every position.
And we kind of got away from that in our society. But on a lighter note, as we kind of wrap things up, I want to ask you, do you have a memory, maybe some you like to share, of something fun that happened, an event that happened on your bus that's memorable that you'll never forget? If you could think of one, something that was.
Well, if it's buses in general, I could write a whole book on MARTA and call it in the ATL. I have had.
We got to keep this rated PG. I know. I
could write a whole book on the school bus.
But on the school bus, have you ever had just some crazy?
One of the things that is near and dear to me, I showed up one morning to pick up my kids, and the whole community was out. They had created posters. They had gifts. They had the works. And when I pulled up, I was totally surprised, totally floored. It was like something out of a little mini Disney movie. I can't even explain. And a little kid that was knee high, she ran up, she got on the bus, and she was the first one on. And she was like, "We made this for you. We love you. We love you." And so she was just high enough when we got to, I was almost in tears. And when we got to the school, she was getting ready to get off. And I always stand up and, make sure that my kids know that I want them to have a good day. And she ran up and wrapped her little arms were so short. She wrapped them as best she could around my waist. She said, I love you. I love you so much. I'm so glad you're my bus driver. And those moments for me are the best ones. They're the best moments. And the other that I would say is when I see a kid that we've talked, and me and my kids share a lot of things with me, especially my middle schoolers. To see them grow in and out of something. There's a lot of drama at that age, a lot of drama, a lot of stuff that is so, when you look back over your life, that stuff is so minuscule, but in their world, it is the biggest thing going on.
Yeah.
And so when I'm able to sit down with them and give them some game, something that really, really is of substance, and see them implement that and say, you know what, this is really, they know me as Miss Knox. I work and write and speak under D T Slaton, but when they come up to me and I know that I have put a seed in them that has produced something good and amazing, I'm grateful. Those are the best moments for me.
Yeah,
Wow.
and that's good stuff. And I want you to just thank you again for your service to the community, and you're spot on, because kids remember when it's something about when you're young, you remember your bus driver. I remember one time when I was on social media, I did this thing where I said, shout out your bus driver. And it was fascinating to me how many people remember their bus drivers. And I had a mean bus driver when I was a kid. I was in the first grade and I was walking up the hill and I was running late.
Oh, I hate
Looked
that.
at me, closed the door, and took off. I never did that and left me. Yes, he did.
Oh, I'm sorry about that experience.
Hey,
That scarred, you know what?
yeah.
Folks just don't know that scarred you for a long time.
His name was Mr. Porch. I'll never forget that joke. But the thing is, I think
what's crazy is like when they left you, all the kids be hanging out the window like laughing at you.
Laughing, yeah. And you gotta walk back home, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which was a long way for us.
Yeah. We used to try to run to the next bus stop and catch the bus.
Oh, bro,
yeah, that's how we did.
One no running.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And you know what the sad part about that is? What's his name? Mr. Porter.
Mr. Porch.
Mr. Port probably really thought he was teaching you a lesson about time management.
Oh, he was just mean.
But he was really, at that age, that type of stuff is traumatizing. And I'm gonna be honest, my kids don't even know what it is to be yelled at. Let me tell you something. I got a little boy, and I just want to give a shout out to him. If he ever find this video, but Cafele Mighty Minifield he sits right behind me. That's my 4th grade baby. He is first name bad, last name bad, and I love him to pieces. He get in trouble every single day. And I told him, I said, now, when you grow up and become a millionaire, you better find me. He said, okay, what's your address? I can remember. And my mom, I always tell people about him. My mom said, he'll never forget you. You'll be older. If God blesses you to live, you'll be older and he'll be grown up. He will change. But you won't, and you'll see him out somewhere, and he'll be like, "Miss Knox, it's you." But when I tell you, I have to breathe. I have to practice all my breathing techniques for him every morning. But I love every minute of it. I wouldn't trade anything for him. He gets candy. I give my kids candy. Don't tell nobody that. I have stuff that all the time. Middle school gets Takis. But I love every minute of it. Yeah. He get in trouble I said, you get in trouble every single day, right? And let me tell you one story, one quick thing. So he has a friend, and for whatever reason, his friend's mom has allowed them to call her by her first name. I do not play that.
Okay.
So one day I was picking up, he's like, "Hey, Aaron, hey." I was like, "Excuse me, this woman's name is Mrs. her last name." So now, if he even breathe or think like he finna say Anna, I'd be like, who? Oh, Mrs. Hamilton, Absolutely.
Good.
You get on this bus, the first thing, good morning, Mrs. Yes, it's two ways you answer me. It's yes or yes, ma'am. Okay, and I'm giving you a break with the yes. I don't play that. And you know, it's the old school. We those things still work. And if they're balanced,
yes,
if they're balanced, that's the key. You know, we can't keep it all. We have to grow into the new because it's a new thing with these kids and getting them. And I'm gonna be honest, Mr. B said it, you know, politically, right? We've separated a lot of things. We've separated church and state. We've separated the way that we can do things, but they can't stop me from praying for my kids, and they can't stop me from being a mother to them. When they get on my bus, it's clear these are my kids. I take very, very good care, and I take a lot of pride in doing a great job every day. And Mr. B, you know, you made a great point. One of the big issues is that the culture of the whole country has changed, and it's changed fast. The change has been very fast. Technology has made that change very, very fast. And this is an individualistic country. It is not a collaborative effort like in other parts of the world. And it's one of the reasons that we have so many of the problems that we have, because everybody is me rather than we. And because of that, we have created a culture whereby folks think solely about themselves. I got problems. Forget about everybody else. And I'm not saying that that you should not be self-loving. But when it gets to a point that the only problems that you see are your own, you're in a bad place. You have to be able to be sensitive to other people. And so, and one other thing, honest conversation. I personally do not like political correctness. I have a degree in communication. I spoke about it with the Georgia Association and Communication Association, and I just don't like political correctness. It hinders honest conversation. You have to be able to let folks speak how they feel in order to really affect change. A lot of the change that you see right now is not genuine change. It's changed because if you don't say what people want you to say, or if you're not brazen enough to speak your truth, you could be ostracized, right? And so people kind of fall into, oh yeah, I totally agree with that. I'm with it. But I think you need to stay true to what you believe in. You can respect people. I don't have to agree with you to love you. You know, so
that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Well,
man,
D,
awesome
we
stuff.
appreciate you. We gotta get back to this truck stop and park the truck. But we had a wonderful, wonderful time with you in the bump with us. And
Absolutely.
again, thank you for your service to the community. Thank you for loving on them kids. I think you know that you are a surrogate mother. It's a lot of them kids that see you as mom. That's what I'm realizing too. We have no idea what's going on in them homes.
Yeah.
And some of them homes, them kids ain't got parents, and they are anticipating seeing you every day because you mom. And I was a surrogate dad, and these kids are leaning on us. So just continue to love on them, and God got you, and we appreciate you. Being here on Mr. B Trucking Institute with us, hanging out today. And what we want, we ask all our, everybody in the bump. We just want you to say however you want to say it. We want you to tell all the school bus drivers to keep it in the road, however you want to say it.
All right, guys, if you are a school bus driver, you are amazing. If you are taking the time to get to know your kids, love your kids, and help grow your kids in the right direction, keep on doing what you're doing. hold it in the road. Know that you are appreciated. You may not hear from your supervisor or your director or whoever. You may not even hear from your parents. But know that other folks, other drivers, other people out there are thinking about you. We know you're important. Hold it in the road. Continue to do an amazing job. And let's have an amazing 23-24 school year coming up. Thank you so much, Mr. B. Thank you so much, DC Wolf and Foodie Fancy. Thank you for having me. It's been an amazing, amazing time with you guys. I've enjoyed hanging out with you.
Okay.
This is awesome, man.
Thank you, D. We'll be in contact. We appreciate you. And keep it in the road.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
What's up, Foodie fans? What you doing back on here?
It's like,
Foodie fans, you old baby. We still live. How you doing? I brought you back in, but we still live. How you doing? How you doing, Foodie? How you doing, Foodie Fancy? Hey, what's going on, DC Wolf? I thought I'd just bring Foodie Fancy back on. Gotcha, Foodie. But yeah, DC, that was a good interview. What's up, Foodie? We appreciate you for bringing.
Now that was good stuff. Honestly, I was listening in the station, and that was a great conversation. A lot of great insight, a lot of inspiration for people who are bus drivers who do not feel the appreciation they should feel, but also for them to understand the importance of what they're doing matters. It matters today, it matters tomorrow, and it makes an impact for the future of these young people that becomes adults. You know what I mean? So I think, Dee, she did an amazing job. I'm so excited for what God is going to do in and through her. And it was a good show.
All right. Well, we appreciate you, Foodie Fancy. And we just want to tell all our listeners out there, hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. And right here to Mr. B's Trucking Institute, where we keep it in the road. We find solutions, not excuses. Wolf, it's time for us to go and hit this truck stop, boss.
Hit the dock.
Yeah, man, we about to get this reset in. We about to hit it. And we appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for keeping it in the road. Till next time.
All right, Keith.